Hey, what's up, aliens, humanoids, and droids, and welcome to a Nerdy Bunch weekly review for Star Wars The Acolyte. Today we're here to talk episode 8, the final episode of the series, I don't know. And coercing me over to the dark side is my co-host Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, David? For the last time this season.
This is the final episode. We got a lot of revelations, but also a lot of questions in a good way. But give us your spoiler-free thoughts.
I'm happy with some of the loose ends that were tied. A lot of good, a lot of good shock factor. We had an amazing fight, or fight sequences. A lot of like, oh my gosh moments. The, the pacing thing, maybe it just stayed the whole way. I feel like there's a lot still left unanswered, which could be a good thing because I'm pushing for another season for the show, right?
Yep.
Which I guess is as good of a review as I could give it. Perfect, never, but I did enjoy that. Yes, we know a lot more about certain things, and it just set up the wider world of Star Wars and how this kind of connects to some of our fan favorite storylines or heroes. So all in all, I think it's a pretty good episode, and I enjoyed it. I definitely want to know more.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. This episode gave me some of the things I've been asking for. We had some fantastic action, and I think one could argue some of the best action we've seen in Star Wars, period,
Probably.
in terms of live action. There's I want to really analyze every fight scene to the detail, and it also gave us some things that, in a weird way, I wish they gave us earlier on in the season. There's some plot points I'm like, where was that? Episode 1. Because they do things that makes me like things that we've been thinking about in the Star Wars universe and the lore, and questions that we've always wanted to ask. And I ask these questions, I'm like, clearly it's a tease for what's to come forward, whether it be a sequel to this show or another show set in that era. But it really plays with just the whole ideology of the Jedi. And I'm like, and we'll go into it in spoilers, but I really wish that was set up earlier.
Yeah.
And I think we've always said this. There's a bit of pacing issues with this series that, in fact, I think I understand the mystery approach, but I think at times the mystery approach almost hurt the show. I think some revelations would have been more powerful. Again, I like the idea of giving us sprinkling the revelations, but I think some of them could have been done earlier to just to give more weight to it. But also like that when we got some of these revelations, it isn't just like, aha, and because this person is evil or because this person is good. It still plays in that gray area where and we spoke about it last week when we had last episode when we had some revelations where it's like, okay, I understand where that person is coming from, even though they're wrong in their approach, right? And it's all, and it really deals with all perspective, right? And personal perspective bias and things like that. When you realize, oh, everyone thinks they're doing the right thing, but because they're not looking at the bigger picture, they don't understand that what you may see as the right thing is actually hurting somebody else.
Yeah, domino effect.
Exactly. Because it doesn't end with like, aha, that person is evil. It's like, they may not have been evil, but they weren't right either.
Exactly.
And I did like that. I did like that a lot. And then again, it leaves us at a place that makes me excited. I'm like, ooh, where does this go next? And I didn't think I'd feel that. I thought this was going to be a one and done show, but I think it left me in a position where I was like, actually, I wouldn't mind some more, even with the faults.
Right? Exactly, agreed. Because I think the faults can be fixed.
And I think some things we looked at as faults before, it was probably us being a bit premature. Right. Like for one, it's not really a spoiler, but for one of them, we know that in the prequel trilogy, nobody knows about Sith and Jedi, and then we've always said in this show, well, how does nobody know about all this? Well, this show tells us how nobody knows about it. Right? It makes sense. Like, well, this is how nobody would know about it. Of course, it makes complete sense. So I think sometimes, again, we've said before, I think this would have also been better received as a full binge, right, as opposed to week. But anyway. Let's go into full spoilers. This episode starts off with Osha removing the helmet. She's in the helmet that we saw previously, and she moves the helmet. And I liked seeing how powerful the dark side hold is in her. Because you get that moment where Chimera realizes, oh shit, like her power is just uncontrollable, it's extending. He has to struggle, like, right? But it showcases two things: how powerful she is, but also how powerful he is.
He is, yep.
Right, at the same time. I think that was it was a really good good way of doing it. But I think one of the things I want to get into is this episode showcases. Okay, we find out about Saul. We find out his point of view on of everything. And what I liked about this, and I want to see your opinion on it, is even when he's been presented with "you were wrong," he constantly tries to justify what he was doing, and I think that's his fault. What do you think of Saul justifying to the end?
I think I usually prefer. I don't know. Sometimes I like people who stick to their guns, right? Because it makes it seem less, I don't know, malicious almost. Because he's like, no, I thought I was doing the right thing. I saw I saw this woman turn into smoke. The child turned into smoke. They're witches. They pushed the child. Like he's like, all these things made me do what I do, and I do it again. Damn it! So like I don't know. Semi respect to him for standing his ground. However, I still do think he's crazy. Was crazy. Like when Osha came up to him and he was like, "No, I wanted you to be a Jedi." Like
Right.
he's like over justifying the things that he did. Even if there was a good premise, I don't think he went about it the right way, right? Like he should have come clean from the start. He's almost ignoring the fact that he lied to the Jedi, lied to the Senate, like did wrong things and missed this good intention decision, right? I think that's where it's crazy. Like again, respect standing your ground, but he must be able to, like you say, think about it on a bigger scale. It's not just you took these girls from their home, you kind of like massacred some people essentially by virtue of your hands, and then covered it up, and then caused just who knows years of trauma in these children or child who is now two people as one, whatever. Like in that whole vein, I think he's crazy. Like he needed to have seen the bigger effect. But like I said, it's kind of interesting because we're getting to see how the Jedi weren't so perfect. Especially back then, it was just kind of like one guy who had a thought and like went with that thought, right? And again, good intentions, but very very wrong execution. I'd say for me from Soul.
And I think again, it plays on the larger narrative with Soul, right? One of the things that the Jedi talk about, and we'll go into this in a second, is that they control their feelings, control their emotions. Clearly, Soul was not controlling his emotions. It was a very everything was very emotional. We saw before he wanted a Padawan. Before he dies, he even says to Osha, "I love because I love you." He was about to say because I love you. Right?
She's like,
And by the Jedi code, these are things that aren't supposed to happen. So clearly, he was very much driven by emotion, pretending he's not, pretending he's doing the right thing. Even both Osha and May are like, okay, we understand why you kept it from the Jedi, but why'd you keep it from Osha?
right? Yeah, exactly. Like everybody's like, okay, but, and he's like, no.
Right. So and even this idea that he was just like constantly like, but because of May, It's like, no, you could have told Osha, every excuse in the book, throwing it out there, except for I messed up. I was wrong. And again, this kind of reminds me of one of the opening scenes, with Senator Raincourt and Venestra, when he says, "I think the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power, posing as a religion, a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable." Then she says, "We don't control the Force." And he says, "No, not the Force, your emotions. You project an image of goodness and restraint, but it's only a matter of time before one of you snaps. And when, not if, that happens, who will be strong enough to stop him?" Love that. Obviously
like
we know
real point though. Like
real points. Right. This obviously he's foreshadowing what happens with Anakin, but it also talks about what's happening with Saul. Like you claim to keep your emotions in check, but clearly you can't do that. What do you think of Raincourt's? Because again, he may have a point, but do you think that he's only there to make sure the Jedi Order are in check, or do you think he has other reasons for it?
It could be a mix of both. I feel like Martian Manhunter was both realizing the gap that exists because the Jedi are seen as so perfect and therefore they can do whatever they want. And I don't know, politics equals agenda, right? Everybody has to have an agenda. Otherwise, like, what are you doing, right? So you know, having an evil agenda, but he definitely is like, I need to keep these Jedi in check. And you kind of see why, right? Like Venestra calling Secret Council members, being like freaked out that he's showing up, the way Soul acts, the fact that like again, how many Jedi's were killed by Chimera, and it's not really reported. There are so many ways where this is not an organization that should be operating freely, and I think it's kind of nice to see this. So even in the recent trilogies, part of the whole story of Star Wars is seeing the whole like political versus the Jediical lifestyles, right? So I think it was nice to see him come in so strong and blazing and just be we're like, what are you doing? He's literally just like, what is this? Come on. So no, I enjoyed him, and again, I think solid acting. Another one of the pluses of this show, I feel like, has been some of the portrayal by some of the actors. So once again, Martian Manhunter, or STs, if you watched Homeland, he definitely portrayed that whole like political what's the name of this when you're the president of a school, what's it called? Headmaster. Yeah. Like the Senate headmaster being like, Jedi, stop it. What are you doing?
And again, he doesn't quite say the Jedi aren't needed. He understands the need for them. It's just like they just can't be unchecked.
Yeah.
And just do whatever they want. They need to have some
Which
checks
they
and
are.
balances.
Like, and we're literally seeing why that's wrong. Like, it's nice that I think it's nice that we saw him at the end of the season, because if we saw him before, it'd just be like, bro, calm down. But we see him after, and it's like, yeah, bro, like, let me tell you. Like, if only you knew what they've been doing, you'd be even crazier in there. Let me tell you, sir.
It's true. And again, Venestra kind of covering that up. And let's just go straight to that. The Venestra puts all the blame on Saul, even if she knows it's not on Saul, right? And we spoke about this briefly.
We did.
Right? We said, what if Saul gets blamed for it? And he does get all the blame for it because she's afraid to admit that there is another force. I don't know if she knows it's Sith, but that there is another force that's just as powerful as us, who doesn't have the same agenda as us. I mean, I can't let that go because her view is to like, and again, I understand her point of view. She's a lot older than people realize. She's been here for ages, and you kind of realize you find yourself defending the thing that might be wrong, inadvertently, because you've been in it so long. So I do kind of like that angle, and I'm curious what and we don't see it at the end, what she tells Yoda. So does Yoda know? Is Yoda keeping secrets as well? I kind of like the idea of Yoda possibly keeping secrets because it makes him not perfect, right? Yoda's always seen as this wise, perfect, never did anything wrong. I'm like, okay, maybe he eventually grows to be this wise person, but he wasn't born that way. This is 100 years prior.
Many things could have happened since then.
Right. And usually, people who are wise tend to learn from mistakes and wrong. That's how you end up gaining that wisdom. Right? You're not perfect the entire time. Though I was a bit disappointed, and I'm sure you're like me, we didn't get to see Venestra versus Chimera.
Or Vanessa versus anyone.
Right?
I feel like they just showed us her whip to connect it to, like literally one bug, like not even the whole colony of bugs. Which should have been more fun. Yeah, that and never seen Chimera versus Wookiee are two of my biggest action scene gripes with this show.
Yeah, because I think we get the moment where she recognizes Chimera through the Force and quickly puts the helmet on.
Which was cool. Yeah, that was cool on his part. He's like, oh shit, my teacher's here. It's like when your parent shows up and you're not meant to be at a party.
Right.
Like high school party. Oh my gosh, my dad's here. Good. And he was literally hiding behind the wall. Oh yeah, that was funny.
Right. And so I thought that was going to lead, she was going to sense him or something like that and then lead to some kind of, even if it was a battle that didn't have a clear winner, I thought it would have some kind of battle. But talking about the fights, we have two fights. We'll go with the first one. We get Osha versus May. And what I liked about this fight personally was, again, I think both fights do this where it's both a physical fight, but there's also an emotional layer to that fight. Right. It's not just, let's just fight. There's lots of emotional undertones. What did you think of the fight between Osha and May?
So you're right. Well, I think Osha went in with a slide kick, right? If I remember, through the ash. It was nice because as the fight went on, they slowly just like started mirroring themselves. And I thought that was a cool tone because again, we do now know this is one soul split in two, or to be discussed. But I did like the fight, just in terms of, I feel like they've both come a long way, and as much as I nitpick her, semi-credit to the actress too, right? Because it's very tricky to be acting as one twin and then the other twin who has the other motive, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like all that somehow came across. There was a funny moment, because I was watching one of these YouTube videos and there's a scene where you can see one of the stunt doubles' face. I literally have a screenshot on my phone. I'm going to save that forever. So that aside, I thought it was well scripted. And it was fun. Like it got very Matrixy at the end, with the hands and that. Yeah. hold each other, waiting for them to hug.
I mean, we love seeing hand-to-hand combat in Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars. Something you don't really see often, and yeah, the same thing. I actually think the choreography and the visuals of having one person play two characters, I think it was done very well. And I think the only reason you would notice a stunt person is to freeze frame, right? In the moment, I
Nitpicking,
think,
literally.
yeah, right. I think in the moment it was done
It was
really,
perfect.
really
It was
well.
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I felt two people, and again, the crux of the fight when May says to Osha, about Soul as like the only reason he couldn't help you because he was the reason for your negative
Yeah, no,
emotions,
it's May, again. May is my favorite, and I
right?
don't know. I don't know how to explain that. Like I'm just convinced she did she found it easier to act as May than Osha.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
so
no,
too.
everything May said was just real. Like, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, of course, he's the one. Like,
right. You didn't
excuse
fail,
me.
he did. Love that line. He
No.
failed as a master, it wasn't you. Which again, it really makes you in that context really understand that Saul's been justifying it for a very long time in his head.
Mhm.
You're the reason why this person's going through pain, and yet you're telling them get over the pain.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up when you like literally dissect it.
Right.
Isn't that the definition of gaslighting? I mean,
100%.
like
100% gaslighting.
sir.
And then carrying himself as this noble person, I was doing the right thing, and you realize you were emotionally charged, and everything you were doing, again, which it goes against the Jedi way, was
Hmm.
based on your emotions and your selfish emotions and your
Yeah.
selfish needs. And you kept on saying, "Oh, because." If you really cared about May and Osha's future, you'd have left them alone,
Yeah. Or just tell the
right?
truth. I mean, worst case, like, 6 months, 1 year after, like, all right, fine. Osha, I'm sorry. Something I
Right,
didn't tell you. Like, bro, you
right.
don't wait this long and
It's
still
like,
gaslight her.
right?
Come on.
He's saying to May, "Oh, you locked everyone in," and she's like, "Yeah, because you broken into our
Mhm.
home." Like, don't even act like I
uh,
started this, right?
like, out of nowhere.
All right, you set things in motion. There was a cool moment before we go into the next fight where Osha and May have a cross kick, and then it cuts to
The
Sol and
sabers.
Chimera
Hmm.
sabers. Great shot. Let's talk about Chimera and Sol and
Excellent.
their battle. Again, I think this does a good job of having that balance of being a physical fight, but there's also emotional undertones because there's moments where Chimera is even like talking shit to Sol.
Hmm.
Oh, they're not here for me; they're here for you. Things
Yeah.
like that. What did you
Hmm.
think of that fight?
And he was like, I like how he said something like, "We pushed Osha to the dark side." It was in
Mm,
May. Like,
yeah, yeah.
there's so many things he said, and even again, it's still a nitpick of the show is I need to get every Chimera phrase and see if that was answered. For
Mm,
example, like in the previous episode when he was like, that's not Soul's power, that's your power
mhm,
to
mhm.
Osha. Like I get it now that Osha is strong, but I still don't get the connection in a sense. But anyways, that aside, yeah, I can't think of many recent fights in the Star Wars universe personally that I've enjoyed more than the Camera versus Soul. It was just little things like, Camera starting with one saber, then he brings out his then he brings out his baby saber. No spoilers, baby blade. And yeah, because if you watch again, Soul is like holding his hand while he's fighting him, just to prevent him from using that other blade, and then of course when Chimera throws both blades at him, and Soul goes Avatar Ang and
Oh,
does the the force. It was just the
beautiful.
intentionality. He didn't even look scared for a second. He was like, I mean, okay,
No,
like no, and then he goes back to his saber. So
you're not gonna fool me.
yeah, it almost made me sad to see that this was the Black Album for Soul, but
Yeah, sure.
I think if anything, it's a great way to go out, and it really sets the tone for the future of these movies. Because again, not too much shade to the most recent Star Wars movies that not many people enjoyed that much. I didn't see this level of like skilled fighting in them, and I think I'm craving it more now. Like the fight was just really really good. Like it felt like these are two guys who are excellent fighters fighting in their own way. Like you could even see Chimera trying to get Soul Saber onto
The
his
helmet,
helmet,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like just little things like that, and then Soul takes his saber back. Like I just love the intentionality of the fights. Both of them showed their skills, and it just had to end with the interruption, but it would have been nice for one of them to kill the other, just because.
No,
But other than that, that's a nitpick. I really enjoyed the fight. Like you said, the choreography for the fighting in this show, if nothing else, is one of its strongest points, and they should keep whoever this person is behind the
and
scenes.
And again, I like the variety of fighting styles. It's not like everyone fights the same, right? They come with different kind of techniques and approaches to the fight, right? And again, you talked about Sol, kind of his kind of calm demeanor when Kaimeth throws the double lightsaber,
Yeah,
because he actually
like
takes time to stop. He puts his saber away, and then he does, like
he's like, oh,
you're
oh
trying to
no,
trick
oh
me.
no, yeah, like no, no,
No,
no,
child.
no.
Or even like there's a point where he does like the triple kick on him. It's like, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that
like
was
oh,
nice.
okay,
That was
Liu
nice.
Kang, I see
Yeah.
you.
And I've always been a fan. Again, obviously, this is because of updating technologies for visual effects. But I'm always a fan where you really get to see how powerful these weapons are. Right, like when they're fighting in the hallway and just like destroying the sides because it's close combat,
Everything, yeah,
just ripping everything apart. Or when the
yeah,
sabers are scratching against each other, you're hearing that kind of scratching scream.
yeah.
Right, so well done. I thought I was like, that's what it would be like holding this fucking flame blade.
Little nuke, yeah, like handheld
Right?
nuke.
Right, it would be causing destruction. The environment wouldn't be safe,
Yeah,
especially close quarters. You'd just be just ripping because it can cut through anything. And
yeah.
I loved seeing that. I did like the kind of like samurai style, like when they run past each other and slice. I thought Kaima was dead. I thought the head was gonna fall off.
Alright.
Right?
Oh, and even their little crouching tiger, hidden dragon.
Oh, that was so good when they
They jump
float,
back. I mean,
jump
yeah.
back. Again, of
So,
course, you'd use the force to cushion your landing. It wasn't a case of, oh, this is a visual effect for just for flair. It's like, no, in context, they're actually floating themselves down to the floor. And I thought, oh, that's really good. I really like that. And again, like you said, it was interrupted by May.
May 1st.
And again, we get another moment where Kaima is trying to push May to the other side. He's like, that's it, strike him down. Which, again, fun fact, that's a line that Palpatine uses on Luke when Luke's fighting Vader. He's like, strike him down and your journey will be complete. There's a similar dialogue to what he says to Vader. But I'm going to ask you, what do you think of May's decision to do the opposite? She's like, no, I want justice. She chooses justice over revenge. What do you think?
I think we've been calling this with the May Osha personality split, which again I guess credit to the show for setting it up that way. Like ever since May didn't want to kill, who was it that she didn't want to kill? Ever since she was done with this whole vendetta against the Jedi, she's been on this trajectory of like, no, like she almost wanted to turn herself into the Jedi. She wants Soul to commit, like say what he did. She's not trying to kill him. So I like that it's kind of been a progression where she's like, no, I'm not here for blood. I literally just want to make things right. Like y'all been using my name to say I killed everybody, and it's a lie, right? Like she's just like, I need a court hearing now. So I really respect that too, and just in typical show, the setup of like, after Soul is done talking, oh, she's right behind me, isn't she? Right? I thought that was just the perfect way for it to just come to an end, because we've been waiting, right, for what 3 no good, I don't know, multiple episodes where he's like, I have to tell you something, and then something goes wrong. So yeah, the setup it felt, for me, if anything, it felt like, okay, finally, like May is like, aha, gotcha, gotcha, bitch.
And then again with Osha, seeing all this and being told by May before that, hey, this is the truth, and not believing it, and then finally seeing that was the truth. I think it does a good job of showing the really showing the blurred lines between the light and the dark side, right? The complexities. Usually we see people turn to the dark side through like something that is instant.
Like a
Where this one,
trauma.
I feel like here you see the emotional progression,
Yeah.
of her kind of like that burning like inside of her. We understand that she's angry a lot, but her anger was aimed towards her sister, and then realizing it's aimed at the wrong place.
Person, yeah.
What do you think that? And then on top of that, we finally get what it means to kill a Jedi without a weapon.
No weapon.
Which, how the fuck did we not think of that? Force
Honestly,
choke.
I actually felt bad. I was more like, was it the poison? I was like, yeah.
I was like, what idiots. None of us thought force choke. Like, duh.
Vader is disappointed.
Right? We came
like,
up with all these ideas of how you kill without a weapon, and just like, well, this is
it's just like, just use the Force, Luke.
right.
That's
Use
all
the
I've been
force.
saying.
Because again, also killing a Jedi like that makes it very intimate and personal and intentional.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of Saul's death by Osha?
Well, it was, not gonna lie. First time I watched it, I didn't think he died until the end of the episode. I was like, oh, he passed out. Oh, she knocked him out. And then like things happened. I was like, oh wait, Oh, but no, it was a great way to showcase her now unlocked powers, right?
Mhm.
Which we've known exist. I'm here for any force choking, just because Darth Vader fans over here, and
And this
just
was based fully on emotion, right? Just
hmm
fully emotions
like
coming out.
just a full, and it's like you said, she had this misplaced anger towards her sister, and then in that instance, she finds out that it's actually this guy. So I feel like it's it's the explosion of the emotions having no other way to come out than just just like
Hmm.
I don't know how else to say this, but just to choke you, Sarah.
Hmm.
Like just rest, and then the sequence with that, and then right after her bringing out the saber to
Oof,
Chimera, and
oof.
then the blade. I think again that will. There are moments in the show that I'll remember in my brain as like the Star Wars canon TV lore forever, and I thought that the crystal bleeding was just, it was a great icing to the end of it, right? Just to help visualize more of like, this is how much your unchecked emotions and anger can fuel you, or like can lead you to where you didn't think you'd end up, right? And
Hmm.
just everything about it, even May being like, oh shit, like that. Even May
Right.
was like, oh, that's how you do it, really. Like, oh, I see, but damn, I mean, I didn't say you should, but no,
Right.
it was perfect. I think that was very realistic, to be honest. I
Hmm.
didn't think it would be realistic if she didn't let him live, and
Hmm.
I'll say I like that whole conclusion to Soul. I'm sad he's gone, but at the same time, I like that this story is not a story of typical, yes, okay, Jedi saves the people and
Hmm.
we all go away. No, no, no. It's a tragic tale. Like,
Yes,
actually, this
100%.
is a pretty tragic tale when you look at it deeply. But it's nice to see that for once, or
And
for a
and even
change.
when she transforms the saber, which again is canon, for
Hmm.
people who think, oh, they just made it up, that is canon. And again, it's reinforced the fact that she was physically touching the kyber crystal as
Yeah.
opposed to not physically touching it. So she literally poured her anger into it, which
Hmm.
creates it to go red. Again, turning a kyber crystal red, or crystal bleeding, is a thing,
Yeah.
and it's part of the journey. But what I also like about it is that, again, even after she kills Soul, she's not carried as this evil person. When Kaime tries to talk to her, and that's to kind of
Yeah.
reconcile her, she's like, no, pushes her away from him. Then
Yeah.
she's even surprised that it turns red, because
Yeah.
again, it shows that this hatred is just completely enveloped her, that she's not been aware
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Right. It just, you realize, oh shit, I am
Oh.
angry. I am very
Yeah. Oh.
angry.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
It's just like, oh, and again, that visual. It's like, you can pretend all you want, but it's in you and it's coming out. Because
Hmm.
again, and we've known a lot of the Sith are fueled by emotion, right? And
Hmm.
it's not necessarily conscious. It's just emotion that just pushes through you. Um, we get they have to leave, and we get the fact that Chimera erases May's memory, and May makes that sacrifice. She said she's always wanted Osha to be happy. We get that she's like, as much as we saw before that from Osha's perspective, that May was like, "You'll never do this." She actually wanted her sister to be successful as a
Yeah.
Jedi. She wanted her successful in terms of chasing her dreams, and she's like, "I will, have my memory erased of you for you to chase your dreams." What did you think of May's sacrifice?
It was an interesting one. I guess I see it, but then I'm also just like, is that the only way? I mean, just like, I mean, you can just keep your memories and go hide somewhere. But I completely get it, and it was I think it was a nice conclusion, at least for this arc of their sisterhood, shared body, mind, situation, right? And yeah, I'm almost like, this show needs to have a second season. No offense, I don't know how it happens, just because now they're even. I guess there's so many ways they could go with it. I don't know if it's planned or not, but like, I just really now need to see. Okay, this is not the last we've seen of these two.
Hmm.
What's the next interaction? How does that action lead in the future? Are they gonna regret wiping memory? Like, is there any repercussion? Do memories ever come back? It's a question. I don't know. Are force wipes like 100%? Is this like a
I mean,
95% success
he
rate?
says forever, but I don't know if
But
that's
I mean,
literal.
sure, he says,
Yeah.
but like, does somebody else come and look in the mind? There, Jean Grey, who's like, oh, I see something wrong with your brain, and like undoes it. So I'm very curious to see where that goes. But yeah, it was funny because even when May Blank was now with Vernestra, And Vernestra was Vernestra was just like all kinds of villain. Just like,
Seriously.
oh, like, oh, how are you, child? Oh no, are you okay? Oh, she was like, you help me find your. Wait, what did she say? You will help me find someone I used to train, or she
Yeah,
used the
yeah.
line, which is also a point of discussion because there needs to be a second season. That's all.
Yes.
You see what I mean? And again, I think that's a good thing for this show. The fact that I'm like, great. I feel like they answered enough of the questions where it's not been ignored,
Hmm.
but it still is not leading me to. All right, now I need to see the the unpacking of the actual story elements that are behind that, because it seemed like a fun thing. And okay, now that Osha has actually given into the dark side, what does that look like? And does she stay on the dark side? This
Hmm.
is another great thing about Star Wars. Just because you've turned dark today or light today doesn't mean, a year from now or in the end you're going to stay dark, right?
Hmm.
Does,
Look at
does
look at Anakin. He came back.
look right at the end,
Right.
Hail Mary,
Right.
right when it counted. But like similar thing, because okay, I get why Osha felt these feelings, but does she like is that really what's inside of her? Is that going to
Mhm.
keep her forever? Does she reach a point where she's like, where's my sister? Or like, wait, why did I I missed this? Or oops.
And not just where's my sister, because we've been told it's literally her split
Hmm.
in two. You must feel that gap,
Yeah,
empty space,
yeah.
right? Because it's literally it's like something of you has been taken away, and
Hmm.
I don't mind the memory erasing because again the context is they're worried that the Jedi is just going to. Because she has a lot of information, she knows things. The Jedi is going to just mind read her and like, oh, we know exactly where Chimera is. We know
Yeah,
everything about him. So that's a necessity for
I
for
get it
for
from that point. Yeah.
for the mind wipe and the fact that in their escape the ship only seats two people, so she couldn't leave with them either. you know but my issue with that scene, the context, especially how it was framed and shot, it made it seem as if the Jedi were a lot closer to catching them, and I'm
Hmm.
like, why are you wasting time talking? Get on with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're like, yeah, they're here, but I need to tell you something.
Right? I feel like they could have framed it that the Jedi were further away, at least, because
Hmm.
it made them seem like they were literally around the corner when they
Yeah.
were tracking them, and I was just like, why are you guys talking? They're about to come up on you. Yeah, and I think for me, that was just like a minor nitpick in that regard. I really like the ending shot with Soul and I mean with Chimera and Osha, because it is very reminiscent of many Star Wars films that ends with the heroes looking onto the
Hmm.
sunset,
Hmm.
you know. But these were two villains, and two villains that might be a couple because they even holding the same lightsaber together.
Yeah.
What do you think of the potential of seeing a villain couple?
That would be great. I think it's always nice to see the opposite. I mean, we get enough hero stories or hero love, and it's just a nice change. It's nice to. It's also why I think we or I really loved Endgame. Sometimes
Hmm.
you want to see the villain win, even if it's just
Yep.
for a little bit, right? Even if it's just, don't worry, they're gonna unwin, but for today they have won. Like this victory completely to the Sith. Well
Right.
done, all Jedi soul included gone. Renestra confused, like great. And both of you guys you deserve a good honeymoon, right? You've done some bad things. Well done. Go off and enjoy. And you're right. The shot itself was almost like the opposite of what we usually see.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited. Like I think even if for whatever reason the show doesn't continue, I think Chimera especially, but Chimera and Osha would at least have a place in the sequence in my mind for being like notable villains in the sequence. Especially, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Plagueis, right?
Oh, I was
Like
gonna go there next. Go straight
like
into it. Yeah,
there's so much.
it's confirmed that he is Plagueis. For those who don't know,
I'm confused. He's the Grandmaster of
Bas-
Palpatine.
well, he's Palpatine's master because
Wait,
like
Master?
his
Oh, not Grand.
yeah,
Oh,
no, his
so
Palpatine's
Palpatine
master.
killed him. Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
bad.
exactly. Yeah, he's Palpatine's master. So that's my question then, because one, okay, there's a couple of questions in that, right? Does does Kaiman know that that Plagueis was there, or does he
Yeah.
is he unaware of Plagueis there? Because you don't know. Does he know that he's there or not? Know is Plagueis Kaiman's master? If so, well, the rule is of two, right?
Yeah.
Now there's three,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, we know that they must, if he is his master, because the whole point is that you kill your master and you become the master.
Yeah.
That must mean Chimera fails because Plagueis becomes Palpatine's master. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that in between. They're like, oh, interesting. How does that narrative go? And we know
Yeah.
that Plagueis clearly he was informed by the witches and the creation of May and Osha in order for him to come up with creating Anakin. Are we going to see that? What I like about this, because it's obviously part of the Star Wars universe, and this is set in the High Republic era. A future narratives don't necessarily have to be the Acolyte season 2. We can
Yeah,
still bring these
exactly.
characters in a different show,
Yeah,
right? They can still
100%.
affect a different show. Even the conversation with the senator, it felt like setting up a different show as opposed to season 2 of the Acolyte.
I hear what you mean.
There are elements of it that reminded me of Andor, because Andor deals in the politicals. Obviously, it can't connect to Andor because there's a lot of long gap
Long
between.
time after.
But we could have a different story that focuses on the political stuff and then bring those characters in there. And I think that's a good setup. That doesn't necessarily have to be the Acolyte season
I
2.
gotta too. I agree. There's a lot, and like you said, I too wasn't sure. I couldn't tell if Plagueis and Keimer had met or hadn't met.
Exactly.
I like the ambiguity. I was like, wait, is he controlling him? Does Keimer think he knows more than he does? Because I don't know. Keimer has never given off the vibe that my master is nearby. Has he? I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading it.
And if he talks about master, it was only in the context of a former Jedi master.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But then at the same time, maybe he's not trying to, who knows? Maybe he's trying to escape from Plagueis and just needed his own. I don't know. But these are part of those questions where I'm like, you can't just leave me like this.
And also, we don't know at this point in terms of the movie universe if the rule of 2 has already been established, right? Because
That's also fair.
something that happens, the rule of 2 with the Sith, but we don't. Has it been established?
Maybe this is why. Maybe Plagueis is like, oh, how dare you? Threesome? No. From now on, just 2. Marriage is sacred.
Absolutely not.
That'd actually be funny.
Right. Favorite moments. Do you have any favorite moments we haven't spoken about yet?
That we haven't spoken about. What's his name? Little creature that sabotaged Soul's ship.
Oh yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Basil?
I have my thoughts. Why do you think Basil does that?
I assume he thinks Soul is gonna take her down, right?
Murder her.
Yeah, that's all I could imagine. And is that what he was gonna do, or was it one of those? I feel like because I watched too many things, I forget. I was like, wait, do they have tractor beams in Star Wars? They do. I was like, wait,
it was a targeting system that he was aiming.
Yeah, but
it looked like it to me.
I'm like, is he targeting to like pull her in, or like wipe her down?
Right.
I mean, from the Soul that we know, I don't think he was going to kill her, right? Like, we see him show violence around the girls, not to them directly. But yeah, shout out Basil, because he was like, I don't know, man, this guy's a little funny. I'm not
gonna risk it.
I'm just gonna dismantle that. But I don't know. I almost wish they would have told us directly. I don't feel like that needs to be a mystery per se, but.
Or maybe Basil's like, this guy is, because there's a line when May goes through into the field, and then and she's like, oh, he's never gonna follow me with that big ship, and he's like, fuck that, I'm gonna follow you. Maybe Basil's like, what are you doing?
Excuse me, I am also on the ship with you. Yeah, like sir, drop me off here, please.
And I will say, we've seen sci-fi movies and Star Wars movies of ships going through, asteroid belts, and in this case, this was the planetary rings. And this was one of the best visuals I've seen.
Pretty good.
Right? It looked good going through the rings. It's like it didn't look cheap. I was like, oh shit.
No.
It looked scary.
It looked feature flick, material, like super well done. And I think it's the same. Am I confused? Isn't it the same like Moon with the O and the title? Like it's that same.
It was near the planet, so because when they were trying to escape, so maybe it could have been the same thing.
I feel like it was, but yeah, it looked really nice.
And I liked the sequence where they get to Osha and Kaime get to the gates, the doors, and she's like, "There's no other way in," and he's like, "Isn't there?" Disappears.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, how could I forget? That what happened? Does he have the smoky Nightcrawler power too?
I don't know. He's got some power.
Because I watched this review where the guy is like, "Sorry, Keimer is Batman," because that's that whole Jim Gordon being like, "Where is he?" And because it didn't make any sense. There's no way he could. He didn't go underground. He didn't like jump through But yeah, these are some of those things where I don't know if it's like, is that intentional that he didn't touch on that, or did they just kind of like sweep it under the rug? Like, yeah, don't worry about it. He moved. You know, it would have been nice, you know, if he did have that smoky power, if they showed like a little wisp, you know, of smoke as he disappeared, because there's no way he did a normal earthly move to get from there to the inside.
I mean, it was definitely something that was used with abilities, because I think even the way that his voice echoes as he says it, right, I think it's alluding to just some kind of mysterious method, that we
Yeah.
don't know. Again, we know that there are many ways to manipulate the Force. In some Star Wars narratives, we've seen the Force used for time travel.
Yeah, fair.
And so I am with you that I'm curious what it is, but again, I'm also of the side that you don't always have to explain everything, because once you start
Everything, yeah.
over explaining everything, like midi-chlorians in the prequel trilogy, you
Yeah.
don't like it. Kind of ruins the mystery of it sometimes when you
Yeah.
over explain, because I like having these questions like, how the fuck what did he do, what the,
Because we do
where's
know
just his
he's super
voice,
strong, so I mean, fair
right?
enough. He has some tricks. Maybe once a day he can do this. I don't know,
Hmm.
but yeah, still, it's
Or maybe he's been here more than we realized. All right, maybe he
fair.
knows something. He knows other ways. He knows other methods that we may not have noticed. What
Maybe he's
else?
David Copperfield. Maybe literally a sleight of hand. He's like, ah, look that way, and he literally ran and just jumped in. Maybe, right?
Hmm.
So you're right. A little mystery isn't gonna hurt anyone.
Hmm. Hmm. Trying to think any other things I missed out. Da, 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 da,
Some
da.
great fights. Yeah, and
I,
so
I think that might be it.
most of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. Now, again, as a finale, I did enjoy it, and I think it did what we wanted it to do, where it just left us wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have nitpicks, but I had a fun time with it. I thought it was well done. And again, I think it gave us a reason to exist, right? And I think that's one of the best things you can do as a show, where because the worst thing to do with a show is when you finish it, Secret Invasion, where you're like, well, what was the point of all of that?
Oh, what a
like,
bad show. Oh my
like,
god,
what
so
was the
sad.
point?
Like literally why? No,
You
I
did
hear
all
you.
that.
Whereas this has all the tendrils at least, or they've
Yeah.
added more understanding to even the lore of today for me in Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars. Where I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I see, that's what crystal bleeding looks like. Or
Yes. Yes.
now I understand a little bit more about virgins, just a little bit at least, or the kind of things that can come. And okay, this is what a person split in two looks like. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
actually now seen these things, and also just like I said, great to just see the Jedi looking a little bit crazy.
And also seeing that there are many ways, and it's not certainly always black and white, for
Hmm.
people to go over to the dark side,
Yeah,
right? Sometimes we always think like, "Ah, I would never go to the dark side. These people say I'm not an evil person," and it's like you don't necessarily have to be inherently
no, but
evil
evil, yeah,
to go over to the dark side. There's sometimes that circumstances can happen in your life. Can any of us say we would never have done what Osha did if the same thing happened to us?
yeah,
I'd probably be more
impossible.
savage, honestly.
Yeah,
you know,
like chop him
like
up with his own
right,
saber.
things like that. So I think you understand the pull, and you understand the pros and cons. It's like this kind of like gray areas of the Jedi and the Sith, and that both need to be questioned, right?
Hmm.
And both sides use it for their own gains and merit, pretending that they're doing it better than the other side. They're not that different from
Yeah.
each other. Yeah, and I think that was good way of showing us to kind of criticize. I think a lot of people kind of have criticized the show because it criticizes the Jedi. I'm like, no, that's why I love the show, because it
Yeah.
criticizes the Jedi. Shit, I wish it did it more. I think we need more narratives that kind of question it. We've said this before, right?
Mhm.
Where we said if the Jedi are like the police, you've got to keep the police in check, because they're
Exactly.
going to abuse their powers. And even though the whole entity may kind of have good intentions, you still have to keep in check of individuals.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes individuals can have their own agenda and kind of ruin it for everyone else, but it's up to everyone else to keep the individual in check.
Yeah, if you
It's
buy a
just
crate of eggs, sometimes one egg is broken. Like
yeah.
that happens. It is a thing. But what do you have a conflict resolution system? Like,
Hmm.
and you can't not keep you can't be keeping secrets, right? So
And not just keeping secrets, but understanding that laws and rules need to be evolving as
mm,
opposed to be constant. Because again,
yeah,
it probably makes sense why the Jedi made the rule of blocking emotions when the rule was made. But over time, you must think, is that a good idea to do that?
or do
Again,
you
which is
just learn to control those emotions, right? It's
right,
just like
right.
it's more like keep your emotions in check. not
like,
pretend they don't exist.
and then it's like, well, who's keeping it in check, right? Are you to keep check yourself? Nobody paid attention. No one said to Saul, "Hey, Saul, you're being emotional. You need to kind of watch yourself." People just let it happen. And again, like the senator says, you're trying to control something that you can't control. I don't care how tough you are.
Yeah.
Emotions cannot be controlled. That's why they're emotions. You got to know how to kind of embrace them and know how to direct them. But if you're trying to shut them down, that's when it boils over
And that's
every time.
funny because I mean I don't know, unpopular thought maybe because maybe that's what allowed the Sith to even gain a lot of the sway that they did because they're very much like I'm not lying about my emotions. I'm angry. What do you like? I'm pissed. I'm pissed off.
Yeah,
I'm so mad. Where
but
the
that's the
Jedi
thing.
like I'm not angry, bubbling up inside.
100%. Again, this is a aside, but great movies like Inside Out and its sequel kind of play on that narrative. What
Oh,
I've always loved
some
about that,
best movies ever.
so good, because in those films, it doesn't frame as or joy and happy emotions are good and bad emotions are negative. It shows that those quote unquote bad emotions are also necessary.
Yeah,
Right. Sadness is necessary. Anger is necessary.
yeah,
Anxiety is necessary.
yeah,
It's just how, in fact, giving too much control to joy can be a bad thing, right? Because it makes you blind and ignorant to what's going on. Sometimes you have to embrace that I am sad right now. How can I
yeah,
deal with it?
yeah.
Yeah, and the more you try
Facts.
to kind of suppress it, the more it comes out, and that's
Like,
what happens to the Jedi, right? And I love looking at that angle. And again, it's not saying the Jedi are evil. It's just that when you have so much power, we need to kind of pay attention, making
yeah,
sure every once in a while, let's do a checkup. Is everyone okay? Everyone
yeah.
good?
Like
Sure.
you need audits, man. Come
Right.
on.
I think that's it. I think that's all we got. Again, I think
Yeah,
overall,
cool.
I liked the show more than I didn't. We said we have nitpicks, but I wouldn't like say, oh, I regret watching the show. I had a good time
Oh,
watching and analyzing the show.
yeah, same. I brought my wife in. She watched it too. I mean, she enjoyed it. I don't think she watched Ahsoka, but I don't think she watched Obi-Wan.
Hmm.
Um, and again, credit to the show for. I I think one of the things um Star Wars needs to keep doing, and maybe some fans struggle with, is just also bringing new people in to the lore of the world, right? And I think this show will have done a good job of that. Like there are many things to now go off on and read, like read some of the comics, or even Soul's repulse move made me think of the Force Unleashed games because that used to
Hmm.
happen, and
Hmm.
and I think that's the strength of using your IP, right? Where
Hmm.
it's like, okay, now I want to go nitpick and find out more about the Virgin, and I can go and do that. So
Hmm.
again, credit to them. I think all of the nitpicks can be easily fixed. I hope it does come back. I have no idea about what's going on behind the scenes, but
Hmm.
they almost deserve to. Like you said, the key thing you've said for me also is it doesn't have to be Acolyte 2. It literally doesn't. it could
No.
be it could be anything else. It could even be a new show, a new title with some of the same characters, or even multiple IPs.
Hmm.
Like hey, milk it like the boys, right? The boys going Gen V, and then what
Right.
Vought whatever, or whatever. Like they just keep spinning off. But
Hmm.
maybe that makes more sense than trying to shoehorn everything into one. I would totally watch a show with young Soul, young Vernestra
Hmm.
teaching
Hmm.
Chimera, if that was, and
Hmm.
I would watch everything, and I would watch a show with them just being like the suits of suits being like the the law show. I would watch a
Hmm.
suits version of the council just ripping through the Jedi and finding all the reasons why. I would love to watch each of those things. I think side by side,
Hmm.
and more. So yes, again for me, not that we do numbers here. The show was like at least a 7 out of 10
Yeah.
for me.
And I think
And a lot of good points.
it takes advantage of the fact that it's a Star Wars universe,
Hmm.
that spans thousands of years.
Yeah.
And I think for too long we were saying it's a universe, we were saying the narrative spans thousands of years, but we only stuck within the same like 50 years
50 years, right?
with the
Like the
same
same,
people. Yeah,
same bloody family line. Like
right. And
we're
so
done with them.
seeing what somebody else was doing on the different side and seeing how other people perceive the Force, you know, again, when you're looking at something so vast, you're going to get different interpretations of
Hmm.
things. And
Hmm.
I like seeing that. I hope they continue to do that. And again, that's why I
Hmm.
want to see more stories in this High Republic era. Seeing what the Jedi were like, and even though we know what happens, it's like, well, I feel more informed, like you said, into how eventually the Sith were able to kind of not only kind of wipe out the existence of Jedi, but even wipe out how people felt towards the Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because people are already on edge a little bit. Like, yeah,
Yep.
I mean, they've already been a little crazy. Oh, I heard they killed like 4 of them and covered it up.
Right. I did like that
Yes.
moment where the senator is talking to Vanestra, and she's like, yeah, it was only a couple of Jedi, and he's like, wait, there were multiple Jedi killed.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I forgot that. That was actually a great moment too. Just acting and just the reality. Because
Right.
he's like I said, I think it's great that they showed him at the end because it
Yeah.
feels like us as him. It's just like. I mean, you see what I'm talking about, people. He's probably going back to the council, just like wow.
Right.
I
I
came
was
here
mad
for
about
one
one
dead
victim,
person.
right?
Yeah,
You're like,
like
there's multiple.
couple. And if you tell me a
What?
couple, it's like that, the saying: if lightning strikes once, it won't strike twice. But if it strikes twice, it will strike a third time. So it's like if a couple, that means there were more.
And on top of that, it's not like multiple regular victims. No, multiple Jedi. Who can
Who
kill
killed the
multiple
Jedi? Yeah,
Jedi?
like this wasn't like they fell off a
Right?
cliff.
And
Like,
you're keeping that a secret? Like, no. We need to kind of we need to kind of look at this more.
at
And then
least be informed. Like, should I be
yeah,
protected?
yeah. And again, I like this line where he says, "The majority of my colleagues can't imagine a galaxy without the Jedi, and I can understand why. When you're looking up to heroes, you don't have to face what's right in front of you." Oh,
He was dropping bars. Not gonna
oh,
lie.
great line, great line. Again,
Barely 3 minutes.
again, it speaks to similar things like the boys plays with, right? Where it's like we put all this power in our heroes, and not understanding that sometimes we miss what's right in front of us, right? And I think that's very, very even in our real world, right? Sometimes we uphold these people into these high stations, and then because we do that, we kind of ignore the negative red flags.
Celebrity fandom in
Right.
general.
Exactly, and I kind of liked how you have someone who's questioning all these things, and again, but I also wonder, does he have a personal agenda? Yes, he's right in questioning it, but just like Palpatine, you were right in questioning it, but you had an agenda to use this to gain power for yourself.
Yeah, like
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Is he a plague? Is he a plagueist spy? For all we know, like I
Right.
said, there's so much, and I just truly hope they don't let it all die here. Just because, like you said, it's been refreshing to see on the big screen something new in terms of the Star Wars world. That's not the Skywalker saga. Or other things like we've had the Andors, we've had the I was about to say Rebel Moon. That's not even Star Wars. That's so funny.
Though it was pitched
Rogue
as a Star
One. I
Wars.
meant that's what. That's funny that my brain went there. I meant Rogue One, not Rebel Moon. But it's nice, and again, I'm all for it. Let's keep seeing more. More siloed stories that have tendrils that connect to the wider universe as a whole.
Yes, I enjoyed it. What do you nerdies think of this series? What do you think of what this series has set up and the potential for future storylines? Find us on social media at The Nerdy Bunch. Also, we have a new email, thenerdybunchpodcast@gmail.com. So if you have any messages or anything to send us there, the nerdybunchpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, English Dave.
This has been a Nerdy Bunch presentation for weekly review of Star Wars The Acolyte. The show is over, and so we move on to the next thing. And as always, Andrew,
Keep it nerdy.
peace.